Welcome to the All About Exams crash course. This video will go into detail about how to prepare for exams, your strategies while taking an exam, and how to manage the anxiety so many of us feel before, during, and even after an exam. First, we will go over planning ahead and time management for exams, especially now that we are learning online. When you have an upcoming exam, try to look at the big picture so that you can plan and not get overwhelmed. By planning ahead, you can make time to break down studying into parts and leaving time to ask questions. For example, if you have a biology exam coming up in 10 days based off of 4 chapters, you can divide studying up into 4 clear sections. You could organize your preparation by assigning 2 days of studying per chapter, then 2 days of review and asking questions to the professor or a tutor. By doing this, things will seem more manageable and your exam preparation will be more productive with strict goals. But when creating goals, you should be realistic to your new schedule off campus. For example, if your house is only quiet at certain times of day, plan to work during those hours and plan to work in chunks of time that you know you can stay focused for. In order for you to plan ahead, you should make a schedule and stick to it. If you had a weekly study plan while on campus, try to use a similar schedule to do that at home. And if you don't have a study plan, watch our Make a Study Plan webinar to help organize your time. The best way to utilize a study plan is to write everything down. Go back over the syllabus for each class and write down the due date of everything. And a good way to stay ahead of the game is to stay informed of what tasks you need to complete. Another general tip is to personalize your preparation to your learning style. This means adjusting the way you study to the type of learner you are. This could mean making flashcards, writing or typing a study guide, or even teaching the material to a family member. This all depends on the type of learner you are. If you aren't sure of ways to personalize your learning to your learning style, watch our Learning Styles webinar. Now, moving on to your test preparation. Even though all tests are considered at home, you should still study your material as you would for a regular test. This way, if a professor gives you an open note test, you won't waste time digging through notes because you will likely know the answer already. In addition to saving time, you are still expected to follow the Washington College Honor Code during every credit-bearing activity. This means that you should not use other materials during an exam unless told otherwise, and you should not work with other students unless your professor gives you permission. Another way to prepare that we have already mentioned is by asking questions. So even though we are no longer on campus, your professors are still accessible. You can contact your professors through email, live calls, or through Canvas. Just make sure you give them enough time to respond to you, as they may also be having internet issues. Tutors are also still available for video call sessions. Watch our online tutoring guide video to learn how to make tutoring appointments, or go to WC Online like you have in the past. And even though we're not on campus, if your professor holds conference or Zoom calls, you should try to attend all of them. This will help you stay caught up on materials and assignments. It will also give you opportunities to ask questions or hear your peers ask questions. Also, when studying, you should plan to study in chunks. A good method to try is the Pomodoro technique, where you study in 25-minute chunks and then take a 3 to 5 minute break before continuing. By doing this, you're allowing your mind to reset and refocus. This is important for information retention. A good way to start studying if you're struggling to start is studying for shorter times. Study for 15 minutes and take a break, and then study for 20 minutes and take a break, and then finally study for 25 minutes and continue that pattern. If this pattern does not work for you, just try taking breaks and recollect. Some more ways to prepare for your test is to study at appropriate times. Even though we are at home and you may not need to wake up early, you should not be studying at 2 a.m. Your body still needs time to rest. Find out what time of day you tend to focus best at and work within that time frame. Another good studying method is to have a study partner. This study partner could be someone in the class, a parent or sibling, or even a tutor. If you're working with a peer, you may hear new perspectives of your material, and if you're studying with a family member, they can quiz you, or you can try to teach them the material. And like we've already discussed, you can video call tutors for clarification. We also have already discussed adapting your studying to your learning style. You can also try to adapt to the online learning by utilizing online resources like Quizlet, Khan Academy, or YouTube. There are also programs you can download to block off distracting websites during certain times of day, and you can also turn all of your devices onto Do Not Disturb to reduce temptation. You can also find resources for your specific learning style. If you do not know what your learning style is, watch our Learning Styles webinar or make an appointment with an academic skills tutor. Finally, when preparing for the test, you should try to model or recreate the online format. Making questions to study from helps you learn how to not only retain information, but how to use it. Since the online process may be new to you, you should try to make similar practice exams. When preparing for an exam, having anxiety is quite normal. It is usually a product of fear, and even if a student knows the material, they may just have trouble accessing it during the exam. We will go over some ways to reduce this anxiety. Before the exam, you should breathe. It is normal to be slightly nervous, especially when using new testing formats such as online testing. Just remember that if you have any questions or concerns, you can talk to your professor. You should also try to use the test prep tips we have discussed in order to perform to your full potential, and you need a full night's sleep to prepare your brain and practice self-care to create positive self-talk. This means do not bash yourself. Try to speak in a positive way and believe in yourself. Before the exam, you should also inform your family that you will be testing so they know to leave you alone and try to stay quiet. Make sure you have little distraction and you're in a location you can focus in. Finally, you should double check your internet connection so that you don't experience complications during the test. During the exam, you should follow some test-taking techniques that we will go over next, and remember to slow down and breathe. Once the exam is over and returned, you should review it with a professor or tutor. This will help you become more familiar with the testing format for the next test and help you learn from the mistakes you made. There is more about test anxiety in another webinar that is all about handling test anxiety. Here are some strategies for specific types of test questions. If your exam is an essay format, you should read the prompt carefully and underline the important information. This will help you focus on what the prompt is really asking. You should also take a moment to organize your thoughts so the essay stays organized. Try to budget your time. Don't spend too long on an introduction so that you run out of time to complete a conclusion. When budgeting time, you should leave a few minutes to proofread the essay, looking for grammatical errors or formatting issues. If your exam is multiple choice, you should still underline key information in the question. Since your tests are likely on Canvas, try keeping a piece of paper to jot down the keywords. Sometimes professors put information in a long question, and that may distract you from the real question. Before looking at the answer options, try to come up with your own answer. If you are struggling with this, you can put a post-it note on your screen to cover up the options until you've thought about the answer. You can also reveal each option one at a time to determine if it's true without getting too overwhelmed by all the options at once. Then, pick the answer closest to yours, and if your answer is not there, use the process of elimination as much as possible. If a question takes too much time, skip it and return because you should be budgeting your time. You should always trust your instincts. Studies show that when students change their answer, they tend to change it to the wrong answer. Finally, look for clues. Sometimes a question will contain the answer to another question throughout the exam. This will be more noticeable when you review the exam at the end. If the exam question is true or false, you should read the whole question carefully. The whole statement has to be true. You can also look for keywords as clues. If something is true, it will tend to be more vague, and false statements tend to be overly specific. Finally, some general strategies to use are being prepared early. You should set up your workspace and log in advance so you aren't starting late. If there is specific information you are afraid of forgetting, you can do a brain dump where you write down all of the information right as the exam begins so that it's available. If the exam is open note, try to have organized notes or a study guide. When taking the exam, you should try to prioritize parts of it that are more valuable sections so that you definitely are able to complete those within the given time. And remember to always review and stay positive during the exam. If you're stuck, Try thinking of everything you do know about the material instead of focusing on what you don't know. If you would like to go into more detail or learn more about this material, please visit the Office of Academic Skills webpage and make an appointment with an academic skills tutor. Thanks for watching and best of luck for the rest of the semester.